This week in North Carolina, 147 Republicans registered to vote.
Whoa.
Only 147. That's scary. In the first quarter of 2008, 40% of the new registrations in North Carolina were Democrats. 43% were independents. 10% were Republicans. Our party is in trouble. It is not in trouble because we don't have good people. It's not in trouble because we don't have good candidates. And it's absolutely not in trouble because we don't have good principles. It's in trouble because we've looked away from those principles. Because we've become about other priorities, like power, like popularity, like political correctness. We have to get back to our roots. Now, we started something, and I'll tell you who the role model was. It's this guy right here. I was at a meeting, and Dr. Johnson pulls out this sheet of our principles and reads it. I thought, my gosh, that's a novel idea. Now, why aren't we all doing that? And that was my first thought. Every time I'd go to a county, I was going to take them a fancy copy of it and say, you know, here's what Tim Johnson does. Y'all might want to do that. And the more I thought about that, I thought, that's what we need to do. That's how we recapture the 11th District. That's how we recapture North Carolina and the country. We have to send the message to people that we were back. We are back and on the right track. And the only way to do that is to look at those principles and say, hey, this is what we're about. This is our foundation. And we're going to live up to this, and we're going to figure out a way to hold our elected officials accountable to those principles. Those two things are enough. Those two things are enough to prove to people that we're sincere and we're real and we're about conservative values that they can count on. Because I'll tell you this, if you're a businessman and you have an affair with your secretary, people are going to be a little discouraged and disappointed in you. But if you're a preacher and if you have an affair with your choir director, their feelings are going to be much stronger. Their sense of betrayal much deeper. Well, that's what the Republican Party, I'm afraid, has done in recent years. We've betrayed people, betrayed the promises that we've made to people. While we control the House and the Senate, now listen, I'm a Republican. I'm a Republican first and foremost. My passion is to uplift my party. That is more important to me than getting elected to Congress. And I'll tell you, if I get elected to Congress, it will be because I have uplifted my party and our principles. Excuse me, I get a little emotional about this. I'm sorry. It's a little hard sometimes to do that. It's a little hard to stand. Sometimes you feel alone. I know I'm not. I know that there are a lot of you that are behind me, but sometimes it feels very lonely because I'm swimming against a stream here. We had control of the House and the Senate for 6 years. And the presidency for 6 years. Government grew bigger. Our deficit grew bigger. We grew smaller. And people felt betrayed by that. For us to win. And it's not just about this congressional candidate. It's about the state candidates, the county candidates, everybody. For us to win, we have got to send a message that people can believe, that we are real and you can count on us. That our values, which are conservative, those values that Dr. Johnson reads are conservative. And we're going to hold to them with everything we've got. So I ask your help going forward. I need you. I need your support. I appreciate dollars, but what I need more than anything is people to get behind this effort. Principles come first. Because that's the future of the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is the future of America. Thanks so much.
Disappointed with the Henderson County position.
Me too.
politics, not coming on board on that. They want to back the principles of the Constitution, of the Republican principles on the local level, but not on the state and it looks like national level. And that's just egregious to me. We've got to, this has to be a movement, in my opinion, from the local state to national level.
I think that's part of the confusion. I'm not mad at Polk County. I'm not mad at Henderson County. I'm not mad at Jackson County. All three have disavowed, the executive committees have officially disavowed my campaign. I'm not mad at them. They're mad at me. I think they believe that I believe this is about me. It is not about me. I have faith that as we go along, they'll begin to understand better. What are they going to do? Vote for Heath Shuler? I think not. I hope not. I think they'll begin to understand that this is not a campaign. It is a movement. It is a movement. They're one and the same. And people say, why are you doing this? Well, folks, who else can do it? Who else is in a position to... Yes. My opponent in the last election found this out yesterday, spent $250,000 and lost. How much did we spend? I like the gentleman. I'm not putting him down, but I want to illustrate a point. He spent $250,000. How much do you think we spent in the last election? If you don't believe it, ask Michael Muller back there. We had trouble scraping together a dime sometimes. We spent somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000. We were outspent 8-1. That's about how much Heath Shuler's going to outspend us in this election. But we still won, and we won because we were able to get across the message. It's not about a campaign; it is about a movement to get our party back, and we've got to do that. I wasn't kidding when I said it's not about me; it's about our party, and our party is about America. The other party has already surrendered to special interests and extremists. They're gone. The Democrat Party is gone. It will not come back. No. We can come back, but only if we get back to what we're about, not being Democrat-like. Yes, sir?
Yes.
Carol, what is the objection that Henderson County and the others have to your candidacy?
Well, how about to the principle?
Well, what is it?
I don't think they have any objection to the principles. I believe there's a lot of pretense about some counties pretend to uphold them, but they don't. The only way to measure whether an elected official is upholding principles is by their voting record. And I'm sorry, if you look at many of the Republicans, Heath Shuler's voting record on the Constitution, the New American came out this week and said Heath Shuler's voting record on constitutional support was 10%.
Oh.
McHenry's voting record over in the next district, the 10th district, was 90%.
Yes.
Sue Myrick's voting record was 75 or 80%. Okay. Heath Shuler's was only 10%. I'm afraid there's some Republicans in North Carolina who aren't a whole lot better than that.
Yeah.
And people, that's that betrayal I'm talking about. When you promise folks you're going to count for something and you turn your back on them, they feel much more hurt than they would otherwise. In terms of what their concern is, I don't think it's about our principles. I think they're apprehensive about this idea of accountability to those principles and finding ways to make our elected officials aware that we're paying attention. Because I've asked every county to come up with a structure to do that. And I think they're apprehensive of me. They've never met a politician like me. They've never met anybody that doesn't pander, doesn't swap votes, doesn't play the game, is not obligated to the power structure, that is not afraid. Well, I can't say that. I'm afraid sometimes. But I step over my fear and is guided by things I think it's hard for some of them to understand. I'm serious about this principle thing. I've had people that I love and care about in the party, I've showed them those principles and they've taken them and said, "What? This doesn't matter. This is just a piece of paper." That's a quote. This is just, and it's everything. It'd be like me being a Christian and saying, "I don't need to pay attention to the Bible. I know that's supposed to be my guidebook, but I ain't got time for that. I'm on to more important things." Well, folks, you can't do that if you're a Christian. I don't think you can be a Republican and be indifferent to our core principles. So let's give a round of applause to the man who really invented the process. They shouldn't be mad. Henderson County and Polk County and Jackson County shouldn't be mad at me. They should be mad at Tim Johnson.